You are not being subjugated by your government. Your government is enforcing the whims of these companies. This is something, we've talked about this in the past. There's a little bit of remedial, but it's because I really want to drive this point home, and there are some new developments. We all know, okay, Elon Musk, Twitter. All right. Good. Elon Musk now has control over Twitter. You look at the list of billionaires, there's one exception here as far as their, I wouldn't even say political affiliation, but I guess their way of viewing the world. It's dogmatic for everyone else, and the top 1.1, the top 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. I don't know. I'm not necessarily a math guy. Neither's Kanye. No one here is. We really should have one math person here now that I think.
Yeah,
the
probably.
best of the best.
And Elon Musk is an exception. So what do we have now? We have this administration, this White House, targeting Elon Musk, calling to action all of the other powerful billionaire tech oligarchs to silence him. And this comes on the heels of some news regarding Apple and what they are doing with Elon. But here is Jean-Pierre being asked about Elon Musk and Twitter. And I saw this last night. It is chilling if you understand what is being said.
There's a researcher at Stanford who says that this is a critical moment, really, in terms of ensuring that Twitter does not become a vector for misinformation. I mean, are you concerned about Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that? And what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
So look, this is something that we're certainly keeping an eye on. And we have always been very clear, and that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing,
there's the broad term.
They take action, that they continue to take action. Again, we're all keeping a close eye on this. We're all
I hate that.
Monitoring what's currently occurring, and we see it with our own eyes of
monitoring,
what you all are reporting,
spying.
just for ourselves, what's happening on Twitter. But again, social media companies have a responsibility to prevent their platforms from being used by any user to incite violence, especially violence directed at individual communities.
There's the switch.
And the president has been very clear on calling that out. He'll continue to do that, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation.
Hey, government plays an important role. Tell me about Section 230.
Yeah.
Tell me about the protections afforded to these companies, as though they are a public utility, so that they are protected from liability as opposed to a publisher. They want it both ways. And she uses this broad term, misinformation, who determines misinformation, then hate, and then circles that into inciting violence. And I just heard someone on CNN yesterday use this lazy argument. Well, freedom of speech. You're never actually free to say what you want. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Who got this shitty talking point? I run into it all the time. You can yell fire in a crowded theater if there's a fire. It's not the speech that's outlawed. It's if you're lying and you create a stampede and there's no fire. You are allowed to yell. Also, there's the idea of private property. If you're in someone's house, of course you have to acquiesce to their rules. If you're in someone's Cineplex, it's the laziest argument that they can possibly make. Just like right here, they say, misinformation, hate, and therefore equate it with violence. Violence is not legal.
Exactly.
Hate is. It might be disgusting. But it is legal. Let's pay attention to this specific portion of her answer. I want to read it again.
Well, that she is reading, though, really bothers me.
Yes.
Because that means the whole thing was set up for her to let everybody
You've always been
know
bothered by
you're being
literacy.
watched.
Wait, you think these questions are not prepared in advance? I'm not even kidding. By the way, they submit their questions.
Oh, I know they're prepared in advance,
Yes.
but it's just she makes it so obvious, like when I host.
This is a quote from KJP. That's what they Jean-Pierre. We have always been very clear, and that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing, that they take action, that they continue to take action. Okay, I'd love to see your comments below. Question. Yeah, who decides what is misinformation?
Yeah.
Who decides what is hate? For a while, it was the CDC. It was the WHO, which is ironic because the WHO determined what would be classified as misinformation while they were actively hating Taiwan by denying its existence.
Well, the WHO said that the CDC was spreading misinformation at one point because they disagreed.
And by the way, they were both probably right.
Yes. Can we just sit for a minute in awe of that sentence? Her quote?
Which one?
That was written down for her.
It was written down, and she screwed it up that bad. When we come to It Comes, and we, and I think he, and we will continue to, it's just like, can we get somebody? Your job is to speak.
Why you got to be racist?
I'm not racist.
Well, it's not
I'm not
even
sexist,
that
racist,
incognito,
anti-Semite,
though.
nothing. I'm just saying, be able to speak.
Yes.
Please. You're the spokesperson.
Okay, so it's not so much that she's a female or that she's black, it's that she's an idiot.
Nailed it.
Good. Okay, I think we're on the same page.
You judge people on the individual qualities.
Right, and I particularly have a disdain for idiots, black and yellow, red and white. They're all morons in our sight.
Right.
Okay. So, by the way, thanks to the October report by The Intercept, we also know that the DHS, the FBI, are actively colluding with big tech. Remember a long time ago, it was Jen Psaki saying, we hope that Spotify, and then insert, how they wanted to censor Rogan here. We now know beyond any shadow of a doubt that they're colluding with big tech. This is the thing. At one point in time, the government determined winners and losers, and it was the enforcing arm was big business, sort of in the Industrial Revolution. That's where power was consolidated as we sort of transformed from a largely agriculturally based society. We now have a flip where really it is a few businesses that control 90% of your life, and the enforcing arm is the government. They are doing the bidding for these big tech platforms. Those are the organizations that wield more power than any government on earth. And our government is in their pocket. Hit the like button if you have a problem with this, because while we're talking about this right now, the algorithms want to tell you that we are dead on YouTube. Here's something else. I don't know if you remember this. According to that report, actually, I think, we have an overlay. The Microsoft executive, Matt Masterson, texted Jen Easterly, the DHS director, platforms have got to get comfortable with government. It's really interesting how hesitant they remain. Hey, hold on a second. This is a fundamental worldview difference.
Yeah.
I believe that what are supposed to be open platforms should be as uncomfortable as humanly fucking possible with government to begin with. Those are just the ABCs of me. Why would we start from the point of they should be comfortable? What good has come with starting off comfortable and trusting of government?
Well, that's the viewpoint. The shock.
Certainly not this country.
Yeah, exactly. The shock that these guys have that I can't believe they won't just trust us. And it's like, have you read any of the news? Like, do you see anything in the last year of why we wouldn't trust the government to do what's right in every situation?
Right.
We're going to get to a little bit more of it with the railroads and pushing that beyond the election.
There is nobody who's gotten a shot that's deeply concerned right now.
None.
No.
Whatsoever. I haven't talked to them personally where they're like, uh-oh.
Here's the thing. The administration right now, and by the way, they're cronies, of course, in big tech. They are terrified, as it relates to Elon Musk, of one person they cannot control. They have been so in control of the narrative for so long, completely unfettered, that the mere notion of Elon Musk allowing people from both the left and the right, we're not talking about Elon Musk removing people from the left. In other words, you have all these other platforms that the left is allowed, and people on the right are throttled or they are banned. We've experienced this directly. You can go back and watch, pick a week, any week, whether we're banned from Facebook that week, used to be Twitter, certainly YouTube. We know this. All Elon Musk is saying is allow both sides to have a seat at the table. So what happens? You just heard that from the White House. You just heard that from Jean-Pierre. I thought Jean-Pierre was on CNN out of the corner of my eye, but it's not. It's just a guy on
soccer players.
Yeah. Soccer players. It's just the corner of my eye. It's not that everyone with the hair looks. It's just that I saw that and I said, oh, Jean-Pierre's speaking right now. No, it turns out it's a gay soccer player. Okay.
So yes?
Yes.
The first straight soccer player. Wow.
The White House can't control Elon themselves. They're not powerful enough. But other companies are. That's the dog whistle. So Elon Musk tweeted this out. I have no reason to not believe him. Apple apparently is considering removing Twitter from the App Store. That's also important to note. He also, by the way, Musk retweeted a post by the blockchain publisher Library that claimed Apple censored its material. Something else, let's be really clear about this. We don't know if this is entirely true. We're hearing this from Elon Musk. We do know that Apple has pulled advertising from Twitter. That part can be confirmed. I don't know if they're threatening to pull them from the Apple Store. I haven't heard anything from Tim Cook yet. But you have to go with the information that is available. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Apple, their history. In 2021, Apple, along with Google, completely banned Parler from its App Store.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Do you remember when Parler was the next big thing?
Yeah.
All Apple has to do is make that threat. Earlier on with Uber, they did the same thing. Now, Uber was doing some stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, but they threatened to remove them from the Apple Store. That will get CEOs fired. That will get boards motivated to change in the company, or it will get people's companies to crumble to the ground because they depend on the App Store to be in the public.
And we'll get to the numbers. The numbers are shocking.
You need the advertisers.
You need the advertisers, and you need to be available on the App Store.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you don't just give somebody a U2 album.
Right. Well, it's not so much give as thrust it upon them.
That's what I mean. They forced it on us. It's for them to take Twitter away. It makes no sense.
Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? I open up my phone, and it's bomb. Hello, and I say, hey, what are you doing? It's just gay porn.
Yeah.
It's something less
That's not
offensive.
The Edge, is it? No. It's a snuff film.
Apple still hasn't answered for that yet.
No, they still haven't answered for that.
And now you're out there making threats?
Yeah, come on now.
You still owe us one.
That's just like that is the modern equivalent to a dirty bomb.
It is.
That's how you destroy civilizations from within.
I would have rather done sex stuff.
Yep. Well, you did it anyway, but
I know,
two are unrelated.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So 2021, they banned Parler from the App Store. Okay. Then you also have to take into account that, hey, all right, they banned them because of hate speech, right? They're against hate. They're against extremists. Well, okay, that would hold water if Apple didn't also do the bidding of communist dictatorships, of authoritarian regimes. Here you have recently, in October 2022, Apple disabled the automatic AirDrop function on iPhones in China. It's an automatic right now. If you have an iPhone, go. You can AirDrop.
Yeah.
It's built in. They had to proactively disable it in order to align themselves with the communist Chinese government.
Yes.
Apple hates the Chinese people and loves the CCP.
Right. And some people right now are posting that as though that happened in relation to these protests. No, it was a guy holding a sign up basically calling for the removal of the president, Xi Jinping. And they did that just for that one thing, not the protests that are going on right now. It's even worse. Right?
Right.
The way that protesters, and I asked this question yesterday.
Actually, we have an overlay of that guy, the banner, overlay B6, the removal of Xi.
Yeah, right there. I was wondering how these guys were communicating because China has such strict control over media and how people
You were
access
asking
it.
that? Yeah,
I asked it yesterday. They were airdropping stuff to each other. That's how some of this information was getting out. Plus, we know that there's some
Not
people that
anymore.
are tech savvy that can get around some of these rules. But now you have no ability to do that. Apple is basically saying, "Yeah, I know this is going on, but now you don't have the you don't have the ability to communicate."
No. Parler is a much greater threat
They
than
are,
Xi
yes.
Jinping.
Yes.
Or
How many Uyghurs have the CEOs of Parler killed?
Oh, gosh.
Well, they're getting around
I'd
to
say
it.
upwards of 0.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a rounding error.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I'm just glad that they stand by what they believe.
Yes, exactly.
It's Elon Musk, that's
the evil right there, the guy who moved his facilities to Texas. Also, we have, in August 2021, Apple banned the anti-government engravings in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Again, are you noticing the pattern here? When they always line up on the side of tyranny. Why? Because they can continue to keep a good portion of the population of China subjugated. They benefit. The people of China don't. Hey, Apple benefits. Hey, Meta, Google, they benefit. You don't. When you don't have access to information, when you don't have access to opinions, when you don't have access to educational resources, they benefit at your expense. And that's when you realize that this is no longer a government for the people, by the people, because they seek to benefit companies like Apple. And not just Apple. Let's just get into the larger problem here. And this is why when people say, who do you think is going to be the Republican candidate? Not that I don't care. It's not nearly as relevant, though, as this consolidation of power with really 5 companies. If you want to be very generous, 10. So let's look at just a handful of companies that control the entire flow of information outside of, recently, Elon Musk, right? So you've got Jeff Bezos at Amazon. You've got Sundar Pichai, I think is how it's pronounced, and Susan Wojcicki, that's Google and YouTube. You have, number 3, you have Zuckerberg, Facebook and Meta. Then you have Tim Cook at, what am I at, number 4? Now, Tim Cook at Apple. And then you have Bill Gates, Microsoft. That's 5 people. That's 5 people. Let me ask you, especially if something like Parler is removed from the App Store, God forbid they try and do something like that with a place like Rumble. Okay, if those people decide in unison and in tandem, they say, hey, you know what? We don't like this opinion. We're going to get rid of this person. Like, I don't know, they did with Donald Trump, with Alex Jones, right? With a sitting president, Donald Trump. If they decide that, where are you going to get the information? It's not even just a monopoly. It's that these people all work together. And right now you are seeing them work together in real time to try and eliminate their one competitor, Elon Musk. That is ball-retractingly scary. And if you don't believe me, here's Steve Jobs' wife, who, by the way, very fetching. He did well for himself despite being a dick. Lauren Powell Jobs talking about the cultural narrative.
It was pretty obvious to me that we could build, we build out in a very cross-disciplinary way our work in capital investing and policy and philanthropy, and we could do this work forever and ever, and we could have the narrative
so she can do it forever. Children's blood packs.
By someone who has a lot of power, who's completely contrary to us, and we could never get to the place where we think we're part of a more just and equal society. And so it was obvious that if we could be part of the creation of cultural narrative, that would enhance and amplify all the work that we're doing.
Which is Hillary Clinton talked about today, is telling the story, getting the content out there.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So these are
notice
these are
that Kamala Harris is
us,
contributing nothing like every conversation.
We want to inspire the kind of stories
Still has her
that
pearls,
we'd like
though.
to see told.
Do you ever see you buying something bigger, like the New York Times, for example?
Is it for sale?
It could be for you.
Oh, good for. Is it for sale? By the way, she's a stakeholder. Apple, Disney, The Atlantic. Just to be clear. Hey, hold on a second. If you can create narratives. I thought your job was to build phones and like computers that are somewhat see-through that kind of look like a messenger bag. Remember, those were fun.
Yeah. But no, they said create narratives by getting the story out. No. You want a story out. That's it.
And suppress the stories you don't like.
Right, exactly. Not everybody's story, not the truth, not what's actually going on in places like China. You want your story out so that it doesn't mess with your
and Steve Jobs definitely didn't create the Good Father app.
No, he did not. He would never let that in the story.
No.
He was also, by the way, a stand-in for the Good Son.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh.
Tiny hands. So here's the thing. Apple and Google, by the way,
easy to let go of.
They control 95% of the app market.
Wow.
95%. You just heard from her point of view how important it is to create these cultural shifts, to control the narrative. She has a stake in Apple, Disney, The Atlantic. 95% of the app store, or app market, sorry, is Apple and Google. When we get to social media, big tech, 71% of people access their news from social media.
Wow.
And by the way, I'm pretty sure that is a low ball.
That's probably a low ball number, but this isn't like being able to play a game on your phone. That's not what we're talking about. Access to information is controlled by two companies right now. That's it.
I'm at 5.
Well, Google and these guys, 95%
on the App Store, yes.
On the App Store.
Yeah.
71% get it from it? That's massive.
No, 71% get from social media.
Right.
95%
controlled by them.
Of the app market is controlled by two companies.
That's what I'm saying.
By two companies who, by the way, we know beyond any shadow of a doubt are complicit with this corrupt government. It's not a conspiracy theory.
Liberal. Yeah.
All of the references are available at loudwithcrowder.com. Again, like I said, we really do try and seek truth, and we try and make it so that you can seek truth. Go and check out the references. Go and read these reports. They're very long. They're a dry read. That's why we put them in this format in the show, because I know that many of you can't be bothered because I hate having to read them. Now,
do it for you, though.
These companies, while we also talk about this, the great wealth transfer, Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, gets the support of a lot of these people in big tech, they want you to hate each other, the top 1%. Well, guess what? A lot of business owners, small business owners, they're in that top 1%. Right? When you're talking about this top marginal tax rate, joint household income, $400,000 according to this administration, which just so happens to be the exact salary of the White House. On the flip side, let's talk about the wealth transfer from the middle class, because some old school conservatives in the baby boom generation maybe aren't aware of what has been happening right now. It is true. There has been a robbing of the middle class and upper middle class, and I would even say upper middle class. Everyone from the lower middle class to making low to mid six figures, that money is being transferred to 5 people, 5 billionaires. Yeah. The top 5 billionaires during the pandemic saw their wealth grow by a total of $101 billion.
That's 26%.
Yes.
Wow.
26% increase in their wealth.
Bezos and Zuckerberg alone, their combined wealth increased $76 billion. And by the way, these 5 companies that I just mentioned to you, together, guess how much they're worth?
$1 trillion?
$6.3 trillion.
Wow, seriously? Wow.
Yes. You are not being subjugated by your government. Your government is enforcing the whims of these companies.
Yeah.
And here's something else that's pretty important. You saw Washington Post praising Apple for maybe removing Elon Musk's Twitter. That's how they try and label it now from the App Store. You saw a bunch of media outlets praising this. You saw Don Lemon on the Failing Morning Show talking about how this was a good thing. Well, here's another wrinkle. Who advertises? When they say, oh, look, the advertisers are pulling off Twitter. Okay. I would like to advertise on Twitter. This happened, remember, with Google and YouTube. They wouldn't let us advertise anything, and they wouldn't let advertisers advertise on their show. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. I'm on both sides. I would like to have these people advertise on my show. I know there are a lot of advertisers who would like to advertise on my show. You won't let them, and you won't let me advertise on their programming. What is going on? They're like, we can't tell you that. And I asked why. They said, because you're a stranger. So who runs the advertising? They're polling. Well, 6 companies. 6 corporations control 90% of media outlets. What do you have? You have Comcast, NBC Universal. You have Viacom. You have CBS, which is CBS Paramount. I'm trying to remember. You have ABC, Disney. Then you have AT&T and you have News Corp. So 6 corporations. NBC Universal, ABC, Disney, CBS, Viacom, AT&T, News Corp. And hey, we all know that these people will deplatform one person. So what you get to say is, look, advertisers are pulling off of these platforms because it's 6 companies who decide to work with you, because then you give them favorable advertising splits. You give them, you favor them as it relates to advertising, period. We've seen this on YouTube, for example. Remember Vox with the Vox Apocalypse? What no one really told you is that Vox was working with NBC, and Vox was producing a show, co-producing a show with YouTube, who then decided that we were going to be demonetized because Vox wanted us to be demonetized. They control the advertising dollars. They control the app store. And this administration has made it clear that they are going to wield that power. They are going to do their bidding. Do you feel free? You really think that you would take the power of Washington, D.C. over the power of Silicon Valley or Hollywood? And if that's the case, you need a CAT scan. You need a CAT scan. And do you know how you know it's not true? How much time do you spend arguing about Donald Trump and DeSantis, right? How much? But what lights the news on fire? Kanye West.
Yeah.
You guys all understand that culture is more important than politics, but you spend so much time in something that bears little significance as it relates to the fundamental changing, a new weaving of the tapestry of our society. 5 big tech companies, 6 media entities, 1 administration, dog whistling.
Yeah. So one of the things Elon Musk said about Twitter is that you have to disconnect it from being dependent on advertisers, because of this very problem.
Right.
Because it will make you censor your content in a way maybe that you shouldn't. And he is a big free speech advocate. I know he's not perfect in that regard. There's some stuff we need to kind of still work on. But he's pushing for free speech. He said if it dies in America, that's the beginning of the end. Like, he understands the problem.
Right.
And he's trying to get free from these people, because think about it this way. If you don't say and do the right things as a company, these guys are going to sick the liberal rage mob on you, and these advertisers are going to start, feeling the companies that are advertising are going to start feeling it in their bottom line, and investors get pissed off and people lose their jobs. That's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this. Stuff that trends isn't stuff that is trending.
No.
It's stuff that they want to trend a lot of times. Because you see something with 25,000 tweets trending and something with 200,000 tweets not trending, right? So you're being pushed information into your face. These companies have so much control, and by coupling with the advertisers, they can make or break your company. And all they have to do is remove you. Look at our store.
And then tripling with the government.
But can't even sell a shirt that doesn't say a bad word.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
You can't even sell a shirt.
We got removed from Shopify, the PayPal, every single company. We've been dealing with this for a very, very long time. You can go back to 2009 with me with a blue bedsheet. Yeah, Dave, sorry.
No, I was just saying it just seems to create a subservient class of voters. I mean, really, people who think they're voting at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I just try to find the logic in it, and it's not there.
Well, it's because it's ideologically driven.
Because it's power.
It's power, exactly.
And all it is power, and that fact is crazy. I've heard that before, but somehow I forgot it, that 6 corporations control all the information that's published. But the scarier part is they're all of the same agenda.
Yes.
And that's the thing that is most terrifying.
And they want you to believe that all of America, by the way, you're talking about well over 3 million votes Republicans won in the most recent election. So let's say this, at the worst case scenario, it's a split. It's not 90-10, but the people who decide what you see are 90-10. Let me ask you this, because I've lived this. And
it's 50-50 with all that stuff being kicked out of the App Store, with Parler, with everything being taken down. Right. That's pretty amazing, considering a lot of people must still have some morals.
Imagine if they allowed equal time.
Oh, crazy.
Hey, what happened to the fairness doctrine? Remember that? That was only to do with AM radio, because they didn't like that Rush was doing so well. They didn't like that they only had ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and they said, oh, hold on a second, Rush has too big of an audience. We need the government to guarantee equal time. Now when it relates to the internet, hey, where are you guys? Where are you guys in asking for fairness? And by the way, I don't think that the government should determine what is fair, because we see what they're doing now. They are determining what is hate. Let's use logic here for a second. When they say, look, all the advertisers are pulling. Okay, Do you understand, for example, that the advertisers, let's say, on Don Lemon's podcast, I believe everyone has a podcast, I'm sure he does, would it stand to reason that his advertisers would be diametrically opposed to the worldview of the advertisers on this show? Meaning Walther, Good Ranchers, they're very likely clear. They're very likely not advertising on Don Lemon's show. Why? Because you have half the country, less than half, and then you have this half of the country. So if a portion of advertisers are pulling because they don't like that there are, I wouldn't even say conservatives, but they don't like that the platform is open and more free, how is there not another class of advertisers who would want to step in? This is the conversation that we had with YouTube, right? Where I said, hey, look, you guys say that no advertisers want to be associated with my channel, which is basic bitch pumpkin spice conservatism. Let's be honest. What about firearm companies? What about hunting companies? Bass Pro? What about coffee companies that aren't lined up with Starbucks? Well, we've had to go after our own sponsors. And by the way, many of these sponsors are not allowed to advertise on YouTube. And if they are, they're not allowed to advertise on the kinds of programming that they want to advertise on. And then YouTube releases a public announcement saying, advertisers are pulling on conservative. That's what happens with Twitter. Yeah. They bar these advertisers, or they have a meeting behind the scenes saying, hey, don't you advertise on Twitter. Don't you support this Elon Musk competitor right now, or you might lose some of your tax-exempt statuses or protections. And they say, okay, we're not going. And then they go out and say, look, the mainstream view is that Twitter needs to censor more. Just look at the advertisers. It doesn't pass the sniff test. It doesn't. And unfortunately, conservatives have failed you in a multitude of ways, because while the left is looking to hit critical mass, and let me leave you with this, because there is a real silver lining here. The left is trying to achieve critical mass. Facebook, I don't know how many billions of users, requires critical mass to work. So what do? They lose money for a very long time. So did Amazon, saying, we need to get to the point where we control a population. Facebook, that's what they did. Amazon, that's what they did. YouTube, I don't know if they're making money yet, but that's what they've done. They've said, okay, you know what? We need to build critical mass of viewers so that then we can determine how information flows. Unfortunately, people on the right, and I can tell you this, are obsessed with monetizing their base. For example, look at Parler. How quickly were you sent out promotional emails? Was that list rented out? This happens with a lot of people on the right. They're going, no, hold on. Let's make money right now. We need to be a business first. Well, okay, you can make some money. That's why we create free content. And we have Mug Club where you can go and support us so that we're able to do both. We're able to give something to you so you get your money's worth, but we do not remove ourselves from these platforms and concede that territory. That's why I'm excited about a place like Rumble. Rumble is an open platform, and they also have I think they have their like pay service thing that's similar to like a Mug Club thing. Yeah. But Rumble is saying, hey, look, we are just going to be what a lot of people claim that they want on YouTube. We are not going to censor you unless you are doing something against the law. And on election night, in the midterms, after we were suspended, no one even came close. We are at a point right now, an inflection point, where if the people on the right, the powers that be, the people with all the money, the billionaires on the right, if they see the inflection point right now, oh, wait a second, we have enough people where we can hit critical mass. Mm-hmm. We don't have to fight billions of users, hundreds of millions of users with trying to monetize a few 100,000 by renting out just a mailing list. They need to perk up, though. They need to have ears to hear and eyes to see. And here's the thing. Maybe some people in positions of power will not be doing that on the right, and it's unfortunate. We will.
Yeah.
We always will. And I am happy to go out on that shield. And you know what? I know that a lot of you out there are willing to do it with us. And I'm glad that someone like Elon Musk, for all of his potential flaws, is willing to do that as well. This is an inflection point. Elon Musk, Twitter, and records being shattered on Rumble that are bigger than YouTube. That's the first night. There were bigger numbers on Rumble than on YouTube. That hasn't happened ever. But we've got to shift our focus here. We can't continually concede the cultural battles and say, who's going to win the primary? I don't give a shit. 3-point-something billion people are on a communist app.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.